In this brand new Mcreator series on the latest Mcreator version, which is 2026.1, we are going to be starting a new Mcreator mod tutorial series. In this episode, we're just going to make our first project. We're going to learn how Mcreator works, how the UI works, and we're just going to get comfortable using Mcreator for the later episodes. So without further ado, let's get started. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to click the subscribe button as it supports me a lot and it shows me that you want more Mcreator tutorials. Okay, so when you first install Mcreator, it should look something like this. What you want to do is click new workspace. Okay, once you click that button, it'll open a new selection screen asking you for some details for your mod. We are going to be going with the Neoforge mod. Now it's going to ask us for a couple of values. The first one is our mod display name. Just to keep it simple, I'm just going to call it tutorial mod. Now you can add capitalization for this field. So I can do tutorial mod. So I'm going to do it where the T and the M is capitalized, as that's the convention for naming things in modding. And our mod ID will automatically be filled. You can override this if you want. Then for our version, I'm going to be sticking with 1.21.1. But of course, you can go with 1.21.8 if you feel like it. The next field is the mod Java package name. This is kind of technical. I wouldn't recommend touching this unless you know what you're doing. But basically, it determines your folder structure. So it will be net, and then the next folder inside that will be Mcreator. Then the next folder inside that will be tutorial mod, and then the next folder inside that will be all the mods code. Then our workspace folder, I'm just going to leave it as it is, but you can change it to whatever folder you prefer. And then we're going to create. Now it might take longer or shorter to set up your project depending on how good your PC is. Alright, you can see build successful in 1 minute and 19 seconds. That is pretty fast, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, we have our brand new workspace. Now, obviously I did add like a custom background. You can just change it by going to like the settings and just experimenting, but this doesn't really matter. Everything is still the same. Now earlier versions of Mcreator might have different features and stuff, so just make sure you are on the latest version, and if you're not, then just be aware that some things may be different to this tutorial. Alright, I'm just gonna walk you through some useful buttons and just show you around Mcreator. Alright, the most important button would be this plus button right here. This button allows you to add something called mod elements. What mod elements are is basically different features that Mcreator supports. For example, you can add a new recipe, you can add a new plant if you want, you can add a new custom element, you can add a new GUI. We'll go in depth in most of these in this tutorial series. Then over here, you can see this little run button. Once you click it, it should start up your client and run the game. There we go. And you can even see your tutorial mod in the mods section, which is really cool. I'm gonna go over how to customize these fields in a bit, but you can see our mod is loaded, version 1.0.0, and we can have Minecraft and Neoforge obviously. Now if you want to look at the generated code and just take a look at your project files, you can press this little folder icon and it'll expand this little file system. I find this really useful when I'm debugging. So let me just go through some of the more important files. So source is your main sort of file where all the code is located. You want to click net Mcreator tutorial mod. Now remember when I was talking about the artifact ID, this is net.mcreator.tutorial mod. This is what I was talking about. Let's say you wanted your own domain, you could do com.john if John's your name, and then your mod name, and that would work. And you can see our main mod class, which is pretty cool. Now we can also click this to collapse it as well. Now to customize our workspace settings a little bit, we can go into workspace and then workspace settings. These were the fields that we were prompted to fill in when we were making the mod. Like I said, the package name, you can change this. It might not work properly, but you know, the mod version, you can add a short description. This is a tutorial mod. The author name, you can leave Mcreator in there, but I prefer just putting my own name in there. There we go. We can add a website URL. Again, you can leave this or you can add your own website. You can add your own credits. If let's say you took some code or some textures from other repositories, you can just credit them over here. You can also add a mod logo. I'm going to show you how to do this later. And a mod license. It has this handy little arrow which shows you all the licenses, which is really nice. For now, I'm just going to do MIT. And there we go. We can save the changes. You can see this little sidebar here. It's kind of hard to see, but there should be a tab called resources. You can click that and you can add stuff like textures, GUI textures. You can add things like mod logos, a bunch of different things. You can also add tags, which I'm going to be explaining in a later tutorial. You can also add more shush. You can also add global variables. You can also add lang keys, which allows you to customize the name for certain items, which we are also going to go over in a later tutorial. If you want to make a custom texture, you can click the create texture button and you can just leave these empty and it'll open this handy little texture creator. You can select your color palette and you can just start drawing. I don't know what this is. And if you want to save your texture, you can click save texture. You can give your texture a name, which I'm just going to call example underscore texture. You can't have any spaces in your texture name and no capitals. And you can specify what kind of texture it is. I'm just going to do other. And we can save our texture. We can close our tab. And if we go into the resources tab over here on the side, we can see our awesome little texture. If we want to delete it, we can press the delete key or we can go over here and click delete selected. It'll pop up asking for confirmation. Now, if you're done with your mod and you want to build it, you can click export the mod for distribution. It'll add a little pop-up saying that you need to abide by EULA and it'll ask you to consider donating to the creators, which I highly recommend. It's an amazing program. Sure, it has its own flaws, but honestly, it's just so useful for first-time modders and just to help anyone make a Minecraft mod. It's so accessible and I highly recommend supporting the creators out. Now you can click export the mod without donating and this will export the mod to a folder of your choice. Once that's done, you can click save and that should export it. Editor repo here, I kind of forgot to mention how you can add your own logo, so we're gonna quickly go over that right now. So if we go on over to the resources tab, we can either create a new texture using Mcreator's own texture editor, or we can import a texture, and I just kind of made my own custom logo, so I'm just gonna quickly import it. So it's important that you import it as a logo, so the very last option, and it's a very simple one, and as you can see, it is imported. You can choose whatever you want for your logo and then go back into workspace settings where it says mod logo / picture. You can select the ID you chose, which is the name of the logo. So if you click save changes, you can see if we go over to our mods folder and we click on tutorial mod, we can see the logo. It's not that great. Like, obviously you guys can make way better logos than me. Anyways, back to the video. But that's all for this tutorial. I hope you have more of a sense of how Mcreator works. I hope this was helpful. If it was, again, don't forget to subscribe. I will have more tutorials coming out soon. The next tutorial will be about creating items and adding them to a creative tab. But until then, goodbye.